Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. We're doing, since it's an election year, and I've been talking a lot about how important the midterm elections are and getting out and voting for progressive candidates. This gentleman who I have on the show today, we met at the Progressive Comedy Tour in Las Vegas. He is running for the 3rd Congressional District in Nevada. Please welcome Michael Weiss.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Graham. Thank you very much for having me on today.
We appreciate it, man. One of the cool things about that first leg of the Progressive Comedy Tour was Ron and I did not want it to just be, telling political jokes. We wanted it to be kind of a political rally and activism. And having you there and Amy, I forget her last name, but
Amy Villela, who's running District 4.
Right. Amy Villela, who's running in District 4, you guys were both there, and at the end of the show, to have both of you stand up and introduce yourselves, and then you're in the lobby while we're doing a meet and greet, and fans can ask you questions and make their own decisions. So that's, what that tour is all about, and we're trying to get more candidates for our tour in June. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, what made you decide to run for the 3rd District, and what's your platform?
Well, I live in the 3rd District, so that's a start.
That's good.
I've had a passion for politics since I was 6 years old, and I've been involved to some extent with various campaigns since I was 18. But as somebody who, although I had a passion for politics and a knowledge for politics, I didn't think that somebody like me would ever have a chance because I'm on the autism spectrum. And during the 2016 election cycle, we started to see narratives being shattered in terms of who could run, who could win, what idea could be thrown out there. And I think a lot of the things that we took for granted about how politics is went out the window. So I definitely, after the 2016 election, I felt, some level of despair in that I was afraid about, what was going to happen. I'd already seen Donald Trump mock people with disabilities, and I, took extreme offense to that. We're seeing right now they're trying to scale back the ADA. They're trying to scale back, other types of protections. And I did feel like, that because I, had the knowledge and ability and capability that, perhaps I could run, to make it to office and stop or try to prevent the damage that Trump could do. But on the more positive end, I also started to see that, these ideas like everybody having health care, everybody having access to quality education, everybody getting paid a living wage, civil rights for the LGBTQ community, government spending in such a way that would benefit everybody, not just the top 1%. All these, crazy, radical ideas suddenly were starting to take flight. And so I thought, well, if I ran, and these are things that I, believe in, these are values that I hold and cherish. If I made it, then I could help, bring these ideas before Congress and enshrine them into law. And, we are seeing, progressive bills like the Medicare for All, the College for All Act, the Raise the Wage Act. Like, this seemed to me like an opportune time as an outsider where I would actually have a chance to win and actually be able to do some good for this country.
So you're running as a Democrat, and who are you running against?
The Democratic primary actually has 7 candidates in it. So there's me. Then there's Jack Love, Richert-Hall, Steve Schiffman, Eric Stoltz, Guy Pinjev, and Susie Lee.
And who is the front runner? Who is the one that the Democratic Party is leaning into?
I don't like to use the term front runner. I prefer to use the term anointed candidate. And that would be Susie Lee, who is, I would say, your typical corporate Democrat. If you go to opensecrets.org and you take a look at where her money is coming from, one thing annoys me that she does is she says she's running a grassroots campaign, but if you take a look at her percentage of small contributions, the percentage I think is like 15% or something. The bulk of her contributions have been large contributions, as well as PAC money. And I'm proud to say, that I have been, all around this district and talking with voters and listening to them and explaining my position, hearing their ideas. I have done all of this without taking a single dime from corporations or special interests. I don't have a super PAC, supporting me in any way, shape, or form. This is all 100% grassroots individual donations. And I think one thing where Susie Lee and I differ substantially is when we are at an event and we speak, nobody leaves with any ambiguity about what I stand for. I know that I'm not everybody's favorite candidate, but I have handouts and showing them a little postcard showing exactly what I stand for. I'm always honest about when people ask me questions. I always give them answers that they like. On the other hand, a lot of people don't know what Susie Lee stands for.
Right.
I don't know what Susie Lee stands for. I try to be as specific as I can with, the ideas that I support, the specific bills that I want to sign, and I think that's resonating with voters now. I think the voters are, expecting, more knowledge and upfrontness and honesty from their candidates.
What are the bills you want to sign?
So the Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act, HR 676. I apologize, I don't remember all the numbers. The College for All Act, which is right now, the bill is in the Senate, but I'd like to support similar legislation in the House. I support the basic tenets of the Raise the Wage Act, but what they're proposing in that bill is basically a period of 7 years to get to $15 an hour. I think that is way too slow in terms of getting there. And I would like to see, living wage implemented as soon as possible. The Equality Act, which will amend the Civil Rights Act to guarantee protections that include sexual orientation and gender identity. There's a bill right now in the House for restoring net neutrality, which huge victory in the Senate.
Yep.
I knew I was right about Collins and Murkowski. I did not see Kennedy voting in favor of that. That was a very nice surprise. And let's see what else. The HR 1227, which will deschedule marijuana at the federal level. So we legalized we legalized weed in Nevada in 2016. We have it for recreational and medicinal. And with HR 1227, assuming we deschedule marijuana at the federal level, then Jeff Sessions will have to stay the hell out of my state. There is also a infrastructure bill that was proposed by Bernie Sanders 2 or 3 sessions ago, which died, which didn't come forth and vote. It's called the Rebuild America Act, and he talks about it on his website. And I'd like to see legislation such as that introduced. It would spend approximately $1 trillion on infrastructure and create about 13 million new jobs and rebuild our crumbling infrastructure.
So then, obviously, the way. So if you get elected and you want to vote in favor of these bills, what are you going to do when they get put another military, the war budget bill in front of you, or spend more money on war? What do you want to do with this bloated war budget?
I can't envision myself being, in favor of any sort of additional military spending at this time. However, with our foreign policy and all that, I suspect that budget and the feeding of the military-industrial complex is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I, plan to, as part of my time in Congress, effectively wage war against our war spending. We have so much money, in terms of, we're the wealthiest nation in the world. And our economic spending policies are totally out of whack. We have, we pour, billions, trillions of dollars into the military industrial complex while neglecting healthcare and education. And one thing that I love, just not love, hate and like just shake my head and smile when this happens is that, those on the right and even those on the center, when I, talk about Medicare for all or college tuition or infrastructure building, they'll say, well, how are you going to pay for it? And then it's like, well, gee, how are we paying, for all those bombs that we're dropping, on 7 different countries, obliterating, human lives, in the process? I mean, do you think that, is free, that money, falls out of the air? And I think that, one thing that I'm grateful for with the progressive, movement is, people are waking up in terms of, the fact that our spending policies are completely whack. And I will not, in any way, support, a dollar, being spent for, military spending if there's not, pure parity in terms of spending, for education and healthcare, butter effectively, if we're going to, because we can, spend money on guns and butter, but there's a morality behind this. And, I don't see profiteering off of the destruction of land, of human lives. There is, no justification for that in any way, shape, or form. I don't, care. And the fact that, billionaires, are lining their pockets with the blood of the innocent is sick. Yeah.
It's pretty horrifying, the kind of money that we spend. We just spent $120 million on rockets last month in Syria for an alleged chemical weapons attack. And I was told that money could have fixed Flint's water problem twice. They've had that for 4 years. Yeah. So I want to ask some questions here about the way things are run specifically in Nevada, because I know, California, we have a top 2 system here in the primary. So how does Nevada work its primaries?
For some of our nonpartisan primaries, they do the top 2. If you get 50%, you're done. If you get 50%, it's over. You won. If you didn't, then it's the top 2. But for partisan primaries, which I'm in, we have nothing of the sort. We have a first-past-the-post system in our congressional elections. So somebody could, win with, a very small percentage of the vote. But if they got the most votes, they move to the next phase, which is, I would like to see Nevada and other states, move towards, a ranked choice voting system, a jungle primary, like California has, because what has happened in this state and many others is, if you're not a Democrat, if you're not a Republican, you can't participate in the primary. Right. And that is, completely unjust, because even if you can't participate in the primary, your tax dollars are still going to pay for that election. And, I am running, as a Democrat, but I am very much a country before party person. And, if I am, brought forth, with voting for something that maybe, I said that's right, country before party. Yeah. Sometimes my brain goes a little bit faster than I can get the words out. So yeah, as a country before party Democrat, if a piece of legislation comes forth for me that I believe is in the best interest of my constituents, best interest in Nevada, I will vote in favor of it, even if my party says no, we don't want you voting for it. And that's part of why I'm not taking corporate money, because I'm nobody's puppet.
Well, so if anybody watching this video is in the 3rd Congressional District in Nevada, what could they do if they wanted to learn more about you and if they wanted to get involved in your campaign? Can tell us when the election day is.
Absolutely. So early voting is starting. It is. It's the first. It's the 2 weeks before the actual primary. So it's May 26th to June 8th is early voting.
And how does that work in Nevada? Can you vote by May?
This is probably the worst possible blooper that I could have done. I don't know. I don't remember when people can vote for me. That's all. Shows you that I am, a first timer for sure.
Well, that's all right. So And in Nevada, can people vote by mail, or is it just going to a polling place early?
Yes, you can request an absentee. You can request an absentee ballot for any reason. You can vote by mail. You can vote early at any of the voting sites that'll be open all across District 3, and you can vote on June 12th. I highly recommend that if you can vote early, that you do so.
All right, and then where's a website that people can get more information about what you're doing?
Okay, it is weissfornevada.com. That is WEISSFORNEVADA.
All right, guys, everybody watching, I'll put your website in the show notes below. And if anyone is interested, I'm sure you could use donations. You could use volunteers.
Yes. And we have right on the front page, you can donate if you'd like to, and you can also sign up to volunteer. We're always looking for more door knockers and people who will phone bank, and we're also sending postcards to all of our voters, asking them to come out and vote.
Excellent. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you going out there fighting the progressive fight and not taking the corporate money and going up against the Democratic establishment, which I know is not easy to do. And so everybody,
that's a hell of a lot of fun. Honestly, there have been certain annoyances, about the campaign, and all that, but 90% of the time, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm glad, that I'm getting to live out something I've wanted to do since childhood.
What are you hearing when you go out and meet people in your district? What are you hearing from them?
I'm hearing just general discord with the status quo. And by the way, regardless of what side you're on, everybody seems to hate money in politics. And that, has been an icebreaker, that I've often used, with those on the right, and those on the center who are reluctant to give me a fair shake. There's a lot of concerns about education and healthcare. We're not always, unified in terms of how to solve it. There's concern about climate change. There is concern, and we have the potential, and I think we're going to get there to be the leader in solar energy. Perhaps the world leader in time. So there's concern about that. There's concern about public lands, or the sacred lands of, the indigenous people, which Trump would like to take for his, own personal use and have his cronies, build real estate on it. Absolutely no sense of the sacred whatsoever. And I also think, because I've talked a good deal with members of the LGBTQ community. They are very concerned about what Trump is doing in terms of the modification to the Health and Human Services thing, which have been allowed, which LGBTQ members may be denied health services because of their sexual orientation or gender identity on religious liberty grounds. This whole religious liberty that they preach. It's religious bigotry.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So there's that. And, I work in information technology and know a lot of, tech people here, and we're all worried about net neutrality. So, and lastly, pot seems to be a unifying issue these days among the left and the right. HR 1227 and Cory Booker's equivalent in the Senate might actually make it to Trump's desk. I don't know what nobody seems to know for sure what his opinion on weed is, but I think if somebody convinces him it's a very profitable industry, maybe he would sign it.
Yeah, all that coke he did in the 80s, I'm sure he smoked a little weed in there. So, well, all right, man. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show, and good luck with everything, and I'll put the link to your website below. So good luck June 12th.
Thank you so much. And remember, everyone, vote early if you can.
Vote early and make Gotham great again.
Take care.